Definitely the first thing that stands out is the very advanced post-mortem gigantism. The skin of the deceased appears very delicate, smooth, and relaxed from being in the water for a long time. The whole body is extremely pale. Post-mortem markings are seen on the underside of the body, that is, on the back, thighs, and calves of the deceased. There are bruises and hemorrhages on the neck. These usually occur due to increased inhalation when fighting to breathe underwater. It's likely that the deceased was lying on her back when she was fished out. The so-called washerwoman's skin on the feet. The deceased had indeed been in the water for a long time. The skin on the hands can be easily separated from the body. The separation takes the form of a glove. There are some obvious scratches on the skin. So, after the preliminary exam, it's time to take a closer look at this. Today's date, the deceased was clothed. Rigor mortis does not need to be checked. Based on the state of decay, you can be sure it has subsided. Where to start? There are obvious scratches on the skin, especially on the back and hands. These could be defensive wounds, evidence of some sort of altercation prior to death. The spots have a purplish blue-red hue, which is a typical sign of the death of the organism. We see thick white foam in the mouth of the deceased, resulting from pulmonary edema. Foam is a characteristic in deaths due to drowning. No obvious signs of struggle. The skin on the hands would have easily peeled away from the flesh. Some of the fingers have already lost their nails. Yep, pretty typical. Liver mortis are formed as a result of putrefaction of blood in the veins. Due to the fact that the deceased was wearing shoes all the time, her feet are in better condition than her hands. Nevertheless, we can still notice a clear, wavy skin and the so-called washerwoman's skin texture. Okay, that's probably enough to indicate a direction for further examination. I'd better note that down in the records. Marks found on the neck, and there doesn't seem to be anything unusual about this livor mortis. Those abrasions appear relatively fresh. No healing or scarring is visible. Hands heavily wrinkled from submersion in water. Typical washerwoman skin. Considering the deceased's penchant for drinking alcohol, it could have been a mere accident. Diffuse spots are caused by blood rotting in the veins. In this case, the question is, was drowning an accident or of suicidal intent? Their distribution suggests that the victim was probably lying on her back when fished out of the water. Maybe it's just an abrasion, or maybe the result of a fight and being pushed into a well. Fortunately, the skin on the hands didn't fall off. Otherwise, a simple trip, loss of balance, and as a result, you end up in a deep hole with no way out. Livor mortis of a different color could indicate poisoning with carbon monoxide, cyanides, or nitrates. However, this is not the case here. That's all for now. Before I begin the dissection, I'll make sure the suggested identity is correct. The suitcase with the fingerprint equipment should be around here somewhere. Oh, here it is. If the body of the deceased is well preserved, fingerprinting is similar to that of a living person. The fingerprint sheet should always be checked. Slipping fingers, too much or too little ink, or inaccurate hand position can make fingerprints illegible. With decomposing bodies, the tissue of the pads of the fingers tends to shrink. To remove these shrinkages, a mixture of glycerin or air is used. I'm going to conduct a dactyloscopic examination. If in fact the deceased is in the police database, I will find her. Glycerin is injected successively between the nail and the skin of each finger. The substance then enters the fingertip, removing shrinkage and wrinkles. Now I take a brush Only when the skin is taut and elastic can you use ink. I think it's enough. I'm getting fingerprint samples. In the case of drowning victims, you have to be extremely careful. The skin may fall off the hand like a glove when you take the print. I'll use the fax machine to add the print into the system. Green button, and... Once the data uploads, I'll run the prints against the police database on the computer. Great. The data is there. Click Upload. Now, go through the database and find a matching print. Expect possible hours of fun. One more. Analyze button. And we have a result. Everyone has a story to tell, even if it's just a police record. So, as predicted, the deceased turned out to be Harper Lloyd. That went smoothly. I'll print this out and attach it to the medical records. Great. Now we can go back to my inspection. I'm adding the name of the deceased. I'll start the internal examination by taking fluid from the victim's brain. A needle inserted through the nose will do the trick. If the victim was alive when she fell into the well, she must have swallowed water fighting for her life. And then diatoms, characteristics of pooled water like a well, got into the body. In the meantime, I'll check the sample under the microscope. I'm sure that these algae traces will be found in the samples taken from the well where police found the body. Now I need to adjust the knobs properly and place the diatom in the center of the slide. Diatoms are single-celled microscopic algae. I'm finally the aperture. Nah, too much light. I'm finally starting to see something here. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a lot. Perfect. It's not a dirty lens. Perfect. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid. But it's not a dirty perfect. I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. As expected, we find the aforementioned algae in the solution. Their upper part, epitheca, which overlaps the lower, hypotheca, is clearly visible. The presence of diatoms in the brain samples taken indicate that the deceased was certainly alive when she fell into the water and was possibly conscious. Since there were diatoms in the brain, it means that many more of them must have entered the body. Studies of the rest of the organs will most likely confirm this hypothesis. I can finally get to the practical part. I must be extra careful because the skin of the deceased is very stretched. I wouldn't want an explosion here. You can immediately see a very large swelling of the organs. In addition, all internal organs are very congested. I proceed to remove the rib cage. It's easy to see that the ribs have been imprinted in the lungs. So, I'm going to start by drawing blood from the lungs for testing for diatoms. If diatoms were only present in the lungs, this would mean that the victim was placed in the well after death, and the perpetrator wanted to get rid of the corpse in this way. Now, I remove the lungs and proceed to their examination. Taking the lungs in my hand, I feel that the tissues have lost their elasticity, which is the result of water emphysema. In addition, there is significant swelling of the organs, and as a result, we have a nice imprint of the ribs. The emphysema itself, it's clear how far it's progressed, which is characteristic of drowning. Corpses found in water are worth examining with a tomograph. However, I can't count on such luxuries, so I must reach for a more archaic technology: a bucket, and water. Ooh. I hope no one dipped a mop in it. It's best to go to the lab for this. Historically, the lung float test is used to detect infanticide. The water should be at room temperature. That's enough. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water. This checks if there is air in the lungs. And speaking of lungs, everything is ready to bring them here.
Oh, Jesus.
Of course, such a study isn't without flaws. Air may have entered a newborn's airways during resuscitation attempts. Gases released during decomposition could also give a false result. In this case, however, it's about something else, namely, the amount of fluid in the lungs. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water and wait to see if they fall or if they will float on the surface. Just as I assumed, the lungs collapsed easily. Fluid could have entered the lungs during panic attempts to catch breath underwater, but it could also be the result of bacterial infections or cancer, so further investigation is needed. I move on to dissecting the lungs of the deceased. You can hear the distinct, very unpleasant crackling of the tissues being cut through. The parenchyma is remarkably pale, although small hemorrhagic foci and petechia are present on the surface. All right. Now, I will check the collected fluid under a microscope. If we find 20 diatoms on the slide, it can be considered drowning, and our result is not false positive due to possible contaminations. Let's see, although I expect we'll find them easily. The aperture still needs adjustment. Nah, too much. The aperture still needs adjustment. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. Perfect. As expected. In solution, the diatoms are clearly visible. There are smaller and larger clusters of them. There will definitely be more than 20 of them. I'll make a note of all this. So far, this case looks pretty standard. It's clear from the beginning that it's drowning. Well, the procedure requires me to check everything anyway. So, I move on to checking the other organs. I ligate the heart, and then remove it for inspection. Strongly developed putrefactic hemolysis, the organ can be seen at first glance. Apart from that, no signs of a heart attack or other heart disease. I move on to the next organ. This time, it's the liver. It's immediately apparent that the deceased didn't care for herself. Like most organs, her liver is enlarged and severely congested. The beginnings of cirrhosis are visible in some areas. I transfer the organ to a board and proceed to dissect. The cross-section clearly shows dilated veins and many small hemorrhagic foci. I must admit that this is quite a feat, considering the rather young age of the deceased. Harper enjoyed drinking so much that she might not have lasted a few more years. I move on to the stomach. I take a sample of the fluid for testing. It looks very turbid. I'll see what happens after spinning, but that's in a moment. Now, I carefully ligate the organ, then cut it off. It's enlarged, probably full of putrid gases. I transfer it to the board and carefully open it, checking the contents. One thing you'd never get used to is how much this desk smells. Okay, the stomach is full of fluid and unidentified organic matter, which is probably leftover food. So let's check the diatoms. Again, but in a centrifuge for a change. The problem with examining drowned people is being able to show whether the death was due to drowning or whether something else contributed to the death. Cramp, heart attack, drugs, homicide, or some accident. Such an analysis requires viewing from different angles and a careful interpretation of the collected data, including those from the field. That's why it's so important to collect as many samples as possible. Unfortunately. My old but trusted centrifuge. Okay, this is one last little sample. Now, set. Done. I'll run it directly into the chromatograph and run it against the data from the police. I'm certain the analysis will show similarities between the fluid and water in Chelsea's well. Let me think. 3 milliliters should be fine. Okay, now it's the chromatograph's turn. Yes. The water sample matches the one provided by the police. Well, the results are quite clear. I was hoping it would be a more interesting case. More diatoms. Analysis indicates the same origin. Blah, blah, blah. There's little left to do. I'm going to check the airway patency of the deceased. Interesting. Looks like there's something stuck in the trachea. I'm moving to the board for further inspection. I dissect the trachea and open the organ. Inside, I find a wedding ring. This is interesting. Let me look at it. Based on the size, I can say that it's a woman's wedding ring, quite standard from the outside. There's an engraving inside. What the fuck? But this is my ring. Alice's ring. But how did it, but this should be at home. I have it. At home. It's... I have to check this out. Where are my meds? Where the fuck are my meds? Huh? Jesus Christ! Hope these all make it go away. I have to check the apartment. It can't be. Jesus Christ! I've already taken my pills. Not looking to overdose. Mr. Ridley. Mr. Ridley!
What's all the ruckus?
I need to go home. Immediately.
What? Now?
I have to. Have you seen anyone here this morning? Anybody suspicious?
Oh, there was no one. Dorothy was, but only for a moment, then she left. What's wrong with you, Hammond?
Okay. Thanks.
What about the corpse?
I'll come back, I promise. Jesus Christ! I have to check this out. This can't be real. Where is it? Where is it? Where? Please be there. It's not here. It's not. I need to go. This is sick! Fuck! Come on, Stephen. Pick up the fucking phone!
Hey. What's up, man?
They took the ring!
What? What ring? What are you talking about?
They took the wedding ring. Alice's wedding ring!
One sec. You mean burglary? You said nothing was missing.
Yes, I know that! I don't know. I was jittering. Maybe I didn't notice. I don't know, but that's not the worst of it.
Calm down, Jack. Breathe. What happened?
I found it in the trachea of the deceased I was working on. Do you understand? I pulled it out of a dead woman's trachea!
What?
I don't know what's going on. You think Red Pete wants revenge? He's playing with me. Huh? I knew it. I knew it from the beginning this was going to happen. I didn't make it up!
Jack, listen to me. Try to calm down. Don't leave the apartment. I'll be with you right away, okay? I'm on my way.
What sane person would do something like that? How? And when? When the fuck? Fucking Ridley lets in whoever he likes as usual. What are you saying? Stephen? Don't leave me, man. Come on. Fuck. Oh, God, what now? Okay, just calm down. Just calm down. I need a drink. Jesus. What's going on? Just one sip more. Yep. Jesus. Just one sip more. Oh, God. All right. I can't do it anymore. These reports will kill me one day. I'll have to finish it over the weekend. It's time to go to work. I should take out the trash first. Jesus. Fuck. Maybe I'll just ignore it. Yes?
Hi, this is Charlotte. I guess I interrupted you again?
Oh, hi. No, I just... I wrote reports in those last sections, and I was just about to leave for work.
I always know when to call.
Yeah, definitely. What's up? How are you?
I'm good, thanks. What about you?
Okay, nothing new. I had a few days off.
Oh, that's nice. Then... Did you have a moment to look for something for me?
Something for you?
Well... the photo with the photo I asked you for?
It hasn't come yet? Oh, sorry, but I said it a week ago.
No, not yet. Maybe I'm too impatient. Sorry for rushing you. You have so much on your mind, I thought maybe you forgot.
It's okay. No worries. With my pills, Pills. I almost forgot to take my pills. So you see...
Yeah.
I have to go now.
Yes, sure.
Let me know if you still haven't received the letter. Then I'll try... well, maybe I'll find something else.
Oh, really? Could you? It would be great if you could. Really?
Yes. I know it means a lot to you.
Well, I won't hold you any longer. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Damn. Did I mess up the address? How am I gonna get those pills? Maybe I should invite Charlotte to do something herself. Ugh. Why is it so wet? Ugh. I shouldn't be this tired. Oh, shit. Almost left the door open. I wonder if Alice's mother has a film of this photo somewhere. I actually hadn't thought about it before. I should call her on Friday. Oh, God. Why do I like sleeping so much? Huh? Good afternoon. I think I'll get straight to work on this one. Focusing on something will do me some good. Christ, this one's heavy. Hey, Mr. Ridley, I need help. I can't lift this bag myself. Ridley! Ugh, wasn't easy, but at least I can start. A new package must have arrived. I guess Dorothy ordered it. I think I'll skip recording a video for the students today. They don't need to see me and the body. Ugh. And they'll still have the accompanying photos anyway. November 27th, 1991, 5:14 p.m. Conducted by Dr. Jack Hanman. James Evans Jr., also known as Jesse. Age about 30, weight 130 kilograms, height 180 centimeters. Evans had previously been convicted of possession of stolen goods, robberies, and drug trafficking. There were also attempts to accuse him of leading a criminal group responsible for burglaries in the New Orleans area. What? Burglaries in the New Orleans area? This is... It's a rather strange coincidence. Police photos show that the body was not even particularly hidden, but only covered with a thin layer of soil, branches, and leaves. The body was found naked and mutilated. Clothes, probably belonging to the deceased, were found lying nearby. The body was found inadvertently in the woods near Peetsville. The dogs picked up the scent while searching for a missing boy. The deceased's father, James Evans Sr., is a local businessman. He was the one who reported the disappearance. At the time of the report, his son hadn't been home for 3 days. Sounds disturbing. I wonder what condition the body is in then. I'll start by opening the bag. Oh, fuck. I didn't expect this level of mutilation. This is going to be a dirty job. I'll check through the bag the police left. Maybe there will be something worth noting about the victim's clothes. Leather belt, plain cotton t-shirt, classic jeans. Oh, dirty and torn. Certainly not my style. Traces of blood and plasma. It could have been used to stop or reduce bleeding. Is this? Interesting. Most of the blood is visible around the neckline. However, after decapitation, I would expect a larger stain, reaching much further. mainly traces of soil. It's a bit like the perpetrators pulled his shirt over his head. Something's stuck here. It looks like some kind of ecdysis? Scale? This could point to an animal being responsible. The bloodstains don't appear to be related to any injuries on the body. The deceased must have been unclothed before he was injured. Traces of dirt mixed with blood and rubbed leaf litter. Evans must have been crawling, or was dragged along the ground. A lighter, engraved with the police insignia. It looks somehow... it's probably a coincidence. And here, another animal souvenir. It looks different than the previous one. The only thing I can tell from the clothes is that before his death, Evans had either put up quite a fight, or the attackers simply dragged him along the ground for a long distance. In turn, and this is certainly strange, the injuries themselves were inflicted only when he was naked. Okay, I'll take a look at the scales. They seem too different. Dorothy once brought an animal encyclopedia here. She performed an autopsy on an exotic animal smuggler. The guy suffered an accident while transporting illegal animals. Not only were the police needed on site, but it took nearly a day to round up his cargo. Dorothy had a hard time with that case. Did the impact kill him, or did one of the animals he was transporting do him in? They even talked about it on the news. People were terrified that some reptile would just come out of their can and grab him. Okay, the book. What is this? All right. Which page was it? Local wildlife. I bet I'll find something here. Not this area, but who knows? Nile crocodile. Formerly worshipped as a god in ancient Egypt, and today just by kids at the zoo. What kind is this? Ah, saltwater. Oh yes, this turtle turned out to be a killer. He ripped off the guy's wrist and tore him in a few other places. Aggressive beast. I only need to concentrate on the crocodile chapter. Well, I wouldn't expect them in the Mississippi River. How it doesn't seem to be fake. Very similar, but the color is slightly different. Not a map. Well, this scale makes more sense than the previous one. How did it end up here? So, either someone donned in crocodile products was around the deceased, or one of them attacked him. I'll examine the body and take photos. If an animal attacked him, there'll be traces. Ugh, Christ. Why am I so tired? Some coffee would be nice. What was I supposed to... the pictures. I'll have to show them to Dorothy. Too bad that we no longer keep our ranking. With something like that, I would come out on top. There hasn't been a case like this for a long, long time. All right, I'll begin. The deceased's skin is smooth and taut. This suggests an advanced stage of decomposition of the corpse. It's unlikely that a human would make such a wound. Such a wound could not have occurred during the victim's lifetime. There are also clear traces of the deceased's ankles being bound in some way. Nasty. Interesting. This needs to be investigated further. Oh, and as expected, there's a bite. Evans couldn't have tied himself up like that. It looks like some sort of attack or kidnapping. No head. That's not hard to miss. This wound appears to have been made by a sharp instrument. I need to gather my thoughts together. And look at these photos. It seems like torn meat, but I can't tell from the photo what animal did this. I wonder whether the decapitation took place before or after death. To check... I should inspect these areas with a magnifier. The work of animals can be seen here. The question is which ones. This looks very promising. The bite is clearly visible. It should be easy to compare it with the encyclopedia and identify the culprit. I just need to make it a little bigger. It'll be faster than physically measuring the bite. I hope I put it in right. I can never remember whether it was image up or image down. didn't have facilities like a fax machine. Everything was done by hand. Ah, fantastic. Practically a one-to-one. Just some tracing paper, a pencil, and I can check these in the encyclopedia. Now, did I leave them in a drawer? Or maybe a box somewhere? Ugh. I don't remember if I left them out somewhere. They definitely pay me too little for that. Oh, looks like I can tidy up after myself. Sometimes. Archives. Just as lifeless as the corpses they concern. A very, nature-driven case so far. I'll have to consult the encyclopedia again. Good thing Dorothy left it here. Otherwise, I would have had to run back to my place to get some. Makes sense. This would also explain the mold found in the clothes. It turns out that some of the wounds can be safely blamed on local alligators. However, we cannot blame them for the decapitation. It's not these animals we should be afraid of here. I should make some notes and start the autopsy. Ugh. And look for other traces using a magnifying glass. It doesn't look good. Evans wasn't decapitated with one cut. Several stab wounds of varying depth and circumference. It looks like the killer might have missed before they finally hit the neck. Mississippi alligator. It's strange that an alligator would leave such a clear and smooth mark. Looks like an uneven bite. It's worth taking a closer look at this. Maybe there will be some remaining teeth marks. The result of an animal tearing at its body, eaten skin, soft tissues, and genitals. There are even some teeth marks, but, well, it doesn't look like an alligator. The bite is firmly incorporated into the wound. A photo alone won't help me here. I need to make a cast and compare it. Evan's right side must have been more attractive to the crocs and insects. Very strong binding marks. You can see peeled epidermis and small wounds. The imprints are quite deep and even. From the looks of it, I'd say Evans was restrained with his own belt. There's no end to playing zoologist today. I need a tool with dental impression cement. Can I find it here? No. It's probably lying somewhere around in the lab. I hope the cement hasn't expired. A month after the due date. That could be worse. Now I need to cover the bite area. Wait until it hardens. I think it's ready. The cast looks quite contaminated from the other wounds in that area. Well, let's hope the imprint turns out better. Scalpel, scissors. Brush, ink, and paper. Similar to taking fingerprints. Paint over the area. And put a piece of paper on it. That's very strange. I'll run it through the facts and check it on the computer. I really don't want to believe what I'm seeing. Loading. What? Wow. This is, well, this is quite unexpected. Human teeth. Oh, fuck. I need to tell this to Stephen. Loading. It'll probably take a while. Loading. It'll probably take a while. Loading. It'll probably take a while. Finally. What? The partial impression I have may match several people. Okay, this one is in prison, so he's out. Another in prison. No, here's someone with quite interesting tendencies. Oh, he's dead. It doesn't fit. This one doesn't either. I'm afraid this will remain a mystery. The killer's profile is getting more and more interesting. I'm going back to the body. Ugh. I need to make a note before I start the dissection. You can see that the tool used was sharp and smooth. So, what if it was in the hands of an unskilled person? Torn tissue, lacerations, bite wounds. Maybe something chased that alligator away before it bit down properly? This wound turned out to be more troublesome than I thought it would be. They look quite shallow. Someone must have inflicted these with some sort of primitive tool. For obvious reasons, I record decapitation as the cause of death. The perfect breeding ground for larvae. Fortunately, the deceased doesn't care about it, just like we do now. Alligators rarely kill humans. The abdominal and genital area are supplied with plenty of blood. If the penis was bitten off while he was alive, Evans could have bled to death. I need to verify how deep these wounds go. If they punctured the organs, hemorrhaging could have occurred. Due to the body fat of the deceased, I'm adding a heart attack to the list. Maybe Evans didn't live long enough to experience what happened to him. Man. I was hoping for an easier case. Time for internal analysis. Finally. First of all, I'll try to determine with the scalpel. I'll open the deceased's chest. I cut deep, in a straight line, avoiding the navel. We see a lot of fat tissue under the skin. When I remove the ribs, I expect to see even more fat on the organs. Correct. High levels of internal fat, organ size above average due to obesity. I move on to the lung analysis. The deceased smoked cigarettes, but more importantly, you can see that the lungs have clearly suffered severe trauma. The lung parenchyma is abnormal with diffuse hemorrhage. And this is the culprit. Well, it didn't look like the holes were that deep. Such hemorrhage could have been caused by hitting the chest with a blunt object, or a puncture directly affecting the organ. They appear to be of different depths. The cross-section is uneven. Open pneumothorax should be added to this. The deceased could have experienced extreme hypoxia, and, as a result, obstructive shock. wonder what the heart looks like then. The organ is enlarged with very clear, light yellow traces of steatosis on the surface. No signs of heart attack. But similarly to the lungs, there is a trace of puncture with a sharp object. In pneumothorax, the heart rate increases. In the event of such a wound, this would mean bleeding out faster and more. In turn, a sudden increase in the amount of fluid in the pericardial cavity could lead to cardiac tamponade, which is also a life-threatening condition. Evans, however, is remarkably clean, considering this turn of events. This all looks quite disturbing. I wonder if I'll find anything on the liver. The organ is fatty and enlarged. The beginnings of cirrhosis are obvious. Well, that's it. This time, nothing to write home about. So, I proceed to carefully remove the stomach. Like most other organs, it is fatty and clearly enlarged, not to mention swollen, partially due to gases, but mainly due to the deceased's lifestyle. I take the organ to the cutting board. If the outside is intact, I'm going to check the contents. It sounds like there's an unusually large amount of undigested, and now rotten stomach contents inside. Blood. Evans had to swallow it due to his injuries, which means he was still alive when he was brutally wounded in the chest. Only the trachea left to be examined. Surprisingly, it's not damaged by the decapitation. I move on to cutting it open. Okay, I carefully cut, and... blood, just as I expected. Evans not only swallowed it, but also choked on it. Looks like I can wrap this up. Let me tie this together. After he was abducted, stripped, and tied up, he was dealt several penetrating blows to the chest, then his head was cut off. Evans was deprived of his genitals, and the body served as an easy meal for the animals. Even though there are a lot of injuries on the body that could cause death, it was the decapitation that ended Evan's life. The animal bites on the limbs occurred after death, so there's no reason to treat these as the cause of death. The damage to the lungs and heart must have led to severe hemorrhaging, so there's no doubt that Evans was choking in bloody convulsions. But it didn't last too long, which I conclude from the small amount of blood in the stomach and trachea. I never thought I'd ever wish someone to have a heart attack, but in this case, it would have been better for him. In some way, it can be said with certainty that James Evans was murdered. Oh well. I need to stitch this poor guy back up. It's really bothering me. Something's not right here. Because even now, the organs are relatively clean. The skin around wounds also, it's like, someone pumped it out? Oh, Christ. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'll leave these questions for the police to solve. And now, I get to head home. It's a fucked up thing. I'll hold off taking long walks in the forest for the near future. I have a feeling that it won't end with just one body. Good night, Mr. Ridley. The body's ready to be picked up.
Sure. Good night.
I think it's the first time in a long time that I finished work at a decent hour. I'll get home and... What? I can't believe what I'm seeing. Oh, come on. Fuck! When did I get a flat tire? What the fuck? Oh, come on. This is impossible. What's this supposed to mean? Where's this happening? Oh, someone is messing with me again. Oh. Fuck. I'm going to Ridley's. Maybe he saw something. Ridley, do you know what happened to my car?
Oh, what happened to your car?
All the tires are fucking flat!
Well, it happens. Don't you have a spare in the trunk?
Spare ones in the trunk. No one carries 4 fucking extra tires. In the trunk!
Jesus, Handman, calm down. I'll call you a taxi.
Calm down? That's a bit of an exaggeration, don't you think? Have you seen anyone around here? Someone strange? Suspicious?
Except you? No.
Haha, funny. I don't find all these jokes amusing, you know.
What jokes? Handman, what's wrong with you? It's just tires.
Such things are not a coincidence! What's wrong with me? Things keep happening. Last week, and now this?
Just go wait for the taxi, okay? Fresh air would do you good. Neither you nor I will do anything about it now.
Neither you nor I will do anything? What have you been doing all day? Surely something like this can't just be overlooked.
Maybe you should go outside and cool down. I'm calling a taxi.
Cool down. I just want to sleep. It would be easier just to move in and live here. I doubt I'll get reimbursed for the cab. Huh? Damn. It's already late in the evening. Good evening. Any news for me? About my car? You know, the flat tires?
No.
No, what? Have you checked the cameras? Anything?
Handman, I cut my teeth working in prison. I know what to do.
What?
There were no strangers hanging around. Maybe you ran over something.
What? All the tires?
Why, possibly. You can congratulate yourself.
Christ.
You should try sleeping more. You've been kind of out of it lately.
That's the first bit of sense you've made all evening.
Good. The body is expected to be ready for pickup tonight, along with your lecture.
What? What? No, what?
You still pontificating? Best hurry, don't you think?
Fuck me. I don't have the strength for this today. Have I taken my pills today? Did I take it, or... I need to focus. Fuck. I've already taken my pills. Not looking to overdose. Okay. One by one, Jack. Take it easy. Oh, a burning issue indeed. Then I'll move on to the body. Ah, shit. The lecture. I almost forgot. I'm gonna need the camcorder. This is making me nervous. Old, rusty scrap. This is not the best framing. Hello, everyone. It's the 20... something of November 1991. Jack Hanlon is conducting the autopsy. Oh, I appear to be missing my gloves and apron. Yes, you already know the drill. So, the body is on the slab. Let's see what the police uncovered first. So, the victim is from yesterday's apartment block fire on Drowner Street. Personal details unknown. The exact cause of the fire has not yet been determined. However, it is known that the fire started in the deceased's apartment, where the most damage was reported. The body was not found until the next morning. The tenant was naked, charred, and with severe burns. The owner of the apartment asked about the deceased. He was surprised anyone even lived there. The deceased was sitting in an armchair near the TV. Pieces of pornographic material, an ashtray, melted video cassettes, and several bottles of so-called poppers were found in the vicinity. It's difficult to assess whether any escape attempts were made. Firefighters indicated that it was probably the large quantity of poppers found near the deceased and rapid spread of the fire. Well, that's our basic question. Whether the death occurred as a result of fire, or whether he was dead before it. As you can see, the body is in quite an unusual pose. For the purpose of photographic documentation, we'll leave it like that for now.